There you go. I got 29 and a half minutes. I know how this thing works, so I'm just going to roll if that's okay. So in my 29 and a half minutes, I thought I'd, like a good speaker, start with a joke. I'd love to tell you that I created the joke. I didn't. And then I'll finish with one, and I'd love to tell you I created that, but I didn't. So this is Tommy Lasorda's joke that I heard him tell in 1998 in front of 9,000 people in the Civic Center of Miami. I like to give credit where credit is due. I don't know how many times I've used it, probably too many. People in here will be bored with it, but it's applicable to doctoral students studying sports, and of course it's Tommy Lasorda, so here it goes. Tommy says that so many times we confuse our dreams with wishes rather than just going out and getting it. So the story is about a Texas oil man who is a billionaire and owns a huge ranch outside of Dallas, and for years he has a running challenge. He loves to show his ranch off, and it's a common place for teachers to take their 3rd grade class and their 5th grade class in middle school. Got a cattle collection there, and of course talks about his oil wells. He has a swimming pool in the backyard behind the ranch, and invariably that's where every tour ends up, at the pool. One day he's got a bunch of 7th graders there, and he brings them to the pool and he says, for the last 10 years, I've had the same challenge, and that is, I would give and grant one of 3 wishes to anyone who has the courage to jump in this pool and fight their way through the alligators to the other side. And the deal is you got to go in, you got to make it across, and you got to step up on the other side. And then I grant the wish. And the wish is $1 million, the deed to this ranch, or my daughter's hand in marriage. Fortunately, in 15 years, no one's ever done it. No one wants anything to do with the gators. As he turns around, he hears a splash. He looks back, and there's a 7th grade boy fighting for his life in the pool. And after 15 minutes, makes it across and pulls himself up on the other side. To which the oil man says, that's unbelievable. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen done. I have to grant your wish. What do you want? You want the $1 million, you want my daughter's hand, or do you want the deed to the ranch? To which the young man, dusting himself off, said, I wish someone would tell me who pushed me into the pool. You're in the pool. And sometimes you put yourself in there, and sometimes someone pushed you in. Doctoral programs are that way. I wanted to share 3 things with you this morning just to show you what makes this place different and why you picked the right place. And you should have some fun with it. We have a lot of famous graduates. You're going to meet a couple famous people. We have a couple sitting with us right here, right now, that have snuck in the back of the room. And I'm proud to say that they're yours. They're not mine. They're Dr. Cromartie's, Dr. King. My career's done, guys. I'm wrapping it up. I work so my wife can have enough money to exercise 3 days a week. But this is about you. I wish someone would have introduced me to Dr. China Jude. I wish someone would have introduced me to a Chris Plonsky, a Monica Singhania, a Stephanie Cameron. I came up the hard way. My network was excellent, but I had no one like that I could eat lunch with, touch, or talk to about what to do with myself and how to get there. You're not only going to meet those people, but you're connected to so many others. I wanted to not only encourage you, but to tell you as you make this network, you'll find it extremely important with who you know in the industry. Not necessarily the University of Texas Director of Athletics, who is the chair of the NIL committee, as well as 6 others. She's about to step in here tomorrow, guys. Begged her to give you a few hours between her travel. The chances of you meeting and having personal time with Chris Plonsky, only at a place like this, or the University of Texas. I'm not sure there are many people at the University of Texas get to meet Chris much. Make sure that when you get your opportunity there, you pull yourself out of the pool, look her in the face, and ask her, tell me what I can do to get myself from where I am to live my dream. Because she's living hers. Monica Singhania, Dr. Singhania in the back, is a world expert on sustainability, full professor at Delhi, University of Delhi, travels the world. We stole her from NYU for a few days. Monica and I are buddies. We steal her all the time, don't we, Monica? You have your chance to touch someone who's probably visited and lectured 50 universities, Monica? 50, am I close? Yeah. and including the Ivies. I have stood next to Monica at Duke University, Wake Forest University. I've seen her show. The chances of you meeting a Dr. Monica Singhania, zero except here. Dr. China Jude, who you'll get some time with today and tomorrow, is a one-of-a-kind as well. Besides being an NCAA Division I athletic director, she was executive vice president of the Denver Broncos, worked for the United States Olympic Committee, and is currently, as you know, with the Detroit Pistons as CEO of their farm system. Lived a wonderful life, sat in this chair 30 years ago, got her degree, and made herself to what she is. I want to first tell you that those folks are so important as you're developing your skills and thinking about what you can do with your education and where your career needs to go. Don't be afraid to ask them how they got to where they are. Monica and I spend a lot of time together. She's brilliant. She also loves you and loves helping you, and that's why she's here. Not just the great food and the view of the sun setting in the bay last night over the battleship. She's here for you. And I want you to take advantage of that, guys. Of course, all of us know them and like spending time with them, but they're here for you. Stephanie will be glad to tell you that. Monica will be glad. So that's number one. Number two, I've had the blessing of not only seeing and touching a lot of these famous folks, but some of them have made a mark on my life. I don't know why I was where I was when I was. From 95 to 2010, I was pretty good friends with Pat Summitt. At the time, I didn't realize she wouldn't be with us much longer. Like most folks, Pat and I met in our 40s. I was in her neck of the woods. And that put me in touch with Joan Cronin, who now has come back full circle and is on the board here. I also, because they're so humble, as you know, didn't realize who I was with. Now, there were times when I was with Pat, there'd be 5,000 people show up for her to speak, and they wouldn't let her alone. I'm not a fool. I knew she had won 8 national championships. I had her speak at my daughter's graduation. I was on stage with her for that, and it was insane. She had just won her 8th. So I've been around Pat enough to know, but I want you to know I also was with Pat when no one else was. We drove in the car. I had a chance to get to know her personally. And I think what I'm about to do with you with Gary Cunningham and a story I told Monica last night that Gary Cunningham just gave us, and I'll do a little Pat Summitt for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I give my time up. One of my heroes was John Wooden, and he was my era. I absolutely love Wooden. I'm an East Coast guy. Neither of my parents graduated from college. But when I get up, by the time I'm at BC, Wooden's winning everything. And Wooden becomes iconic. I'm not leaving New England, I'm a Bostonian, but I studied John Wooden. I wouldn't know that as I got older, I'd get a chance to get to know him, write papers on him in my graduate school, and get to talk to him on the phone. But the more I did, the bigger he became. Just an incredible human being. Now, the odds of me meeting his protege in life are 0, let alone him. And then Gary Cunningham. On the cover of Sports Illustrated in the 60s, I remember seeing Gary Cunningham. He represented the best that UCLA had to offer. They were about to win 10 national championships, and he's who they selected to put on the cover. As many of you know, he was then John's assistant for the next, they won 8 national championships. He was the number 2 until the coach walked in and said, please take my job. To which Gary took his job and won more games than John did in 2 years. Gary has 3 children. After 2 years, went into the athletic director and said, I'm done with coaching. Imagine leaving UCLA, Wooden is still alive and well, and going to Western Washington University to be an athletic director because he wanted to be around his family and the coaching was insane. Gary then spent the next 20 or 30 years as an AD, but was the last person that saw John Wooden before he passed. The next morning, after John passed at about 11 o'clock at night at the age of 99, the next morning, Wooden's oldest daughter called Gary and said, he left a little something for you. So Gary drove 2.5 hours from Santa Barbara down to John's house. The daughter gave him 4 original Pyramids of Success. 4. That's all he had left. From his first copy, from his first printing. And he signed them. I have a blank one. I made Gary sign it when he came to speak 2 weeks ago. And it took him 3 days to do it. Just like Pat Summitt takes 3 days to sign everything I have from her. He said, Steve, after we get to know each other, you take me back to the airport. I'll sign it for you. It was in the rain, Mobile Airport. He finally got to his hand and wrote it and looked at me and said, "Do you know I still have one original with Coach Wooden's name on it?" "Nope." He said, "I do. When I get home, I love this place so much and I enjoyed you and Becky so much, I will send it to you." He wrote me personal letters. They're in my office, mounted on the wall. And I called him and said, so at 73 years old, with some of the stuff I bumped into, it takes a lot to move me, but that did it. So here's a picture of where it is, and I have your letters on the back of those framed pyramids of success. I had the chance to spend a couple hours with him, and in my time alone with him, pick his brain. The teachings of the master. How many of those guys graduated? How many of them come back? How many went on to be coaches? Denny Crump. You know, I can name a few, obviously Patino. How about 66 assistant coaches went on to be head coaches? 19 won national championships. I stood with Gary Cunningham, and he was as humble a 6'8" man as I've ever been around. And you can ask anyone that was at graduation, he was really an incredible human being. Only here, guys, only here. The stories he told me and some of the wonderful turns of his life and the decisions he had to make and the people that touched him leads me to my final story on him before we get to Pat. And that's about a lady named Ann Myers, married Don Drysdale. In my era, which is the 70s and 80s, as I'm going through college, the finest woman athlete in the country, perhaps the world, is Ann Myers. She's the only 4-time All-American at UCLA. She's selected at 17 years old to be on the Olympic Committee. She gets to play with Pat, by the way. Caitlin Clark won the Ann Myers Award, top female basketball player in college every year, and Ann actually goes and gives it to him. Ann is on our board. Our students have had Ann in front of them. I've got to know her pretty well. And she told me this story about Gary Cunningham. She's an 18-year, she had 50 full scholarships. She is the first woman full scholarship athlete at UCLA in their history. And of course, 11 records still stand thanks to her 4 years. But she's just a scrub kid, she told me, with a military father who was very disciplined, and walking on the campus of UCLA. She chooses UCLA. She's from San Diego area. Scared to death. Where do I go? It's orientation the first day, and they send her to Pauley Pavilion. They send her to the building where all the tall 6'8", 6'9" men are standing in line waiting to see Coach Wooden. And they put her in that line. She's the only female in there. She said, about 8 or 9 people back. I'm scared to death. These guys are all making fun of me, laughing at me. I'm the only scholarship woman athlete at UCLA, which I didn't know till I got there. She said, I thought I already had 100 scholarship athletes. And of course, I'm famous. I'm a high school All-American. I'm the top recruit in the country. But I'm still, first visit, first time. I was ready to walk away when suddenly this handsome 6'8" gentleman comes out of an office and says, "You Annie?" To which I nodded my head. "I'll take care of you. Come over here." She said, I walked into his office, and for the last 40 years, he's been my closest counselor and confidant. He led me through UCLA, he led me through my coaching, and now he leads me with what I do for the Phoenix Suns and ESPN. And he's my closest friend. A mentor for life. I never asked him if he'd be my mentor, and he never said to me, "You want a mentor?" We just liked each other. She said, I told my dad, I got another dad up here, so you don't have to worry. And she said, he's off your board, I'll come on. Those are the people stories that you get when you sit where I sit. It's that wonderful. And you're about to embrace it, and you're about to touch some of these people. Stephanie and I have been together, 20 years? Yeah. Met at Applebee's in Athens, Tennessee in 2004 or 5. She was assistant manager. And I was at a university as a president at the time. She was a graduate of that university. I asked her if she wanted a job working for us. She was as hard a worker as I'd ever seen. She came and told me I put her in admissions for 2 years. I thought it was 9 months. So she then got her master's, her doctorate, and we went different ways with her family. She ended up in Illinois, Southern Illinois, right? And I traveled all around, of course. Couldn't keep a job. When I got this one in January, Stephanie was one of the people that called me to congratulate me, and she said, "Do you know what I do? You know, I've done the last 20 years." No idea. I knew her kids real well, and I knew her family very well from 2005 to now. "I'm actually a sports psychologist," she said, "and I've got my own business. Your university would be a dream for me." She started teaching adjunct. Faculty fell in love with her. Here she sits, it's her first week. You get to actually be with Dr. Stephanie Cameron. And I get her back after 20 years, 25 years. Only at places like this, guys. Only at places. I want to do a little Pat Summit because we are an exclusive school beside the University of Tennessee that has the right to throw her around. Use her name. We're building out her room next to Thorpe in the next few months. Her son, Tyler, and I have been friends for years. He's sending us the Hall of Fame collection so we can get into Pat. Joan, of course, is very much omnipresent with us and has been a good friend for a while. And I wanted to share with you on Pat. Once again, like so many people, I had no idea who I was next to and no idea the implications of what she left behind, but I do now. Like most people, it takes a while. After she's gone, there's no one else to replace her. Remember, she was before Gino Ariyama. And I remember when Gino came in and started beating her. And I remember how impossible she was to live with the Connecticut game coming and what she was like the day before. Dude, I was one of those people that was running into her. I was friends with Philip Fulmer at the time, and the chair of the board at the University of Tennessee was also on my board. And I remember telling her, don't worry, this guy's a flash in the pan. And here we are 15 years later, he broke all our records. So I guess records are meant to be broken. I wanted to tell you that in my travels with Pat Summit, wherever we went, she always had this book. It is actually her book. She signed it over to me. I was so fascinated because my wife is an elementary school librarian. And this is a good old-fashioned Dr. Seuss third grade book. I taught third grade. And I was mystified by why Pat Summit, who gets $50,000 of speaking engagement, would carry this. I must tell you that since about 2012, I've probably used it 50 times. It is a staple. Of course, I watched the master use it, and I watched what pages she used and how she used it. And I thought I'd give you a little taste. I recommend everybody go out and get one. Pat has two books. The first book came out in the 90s, is about her definite dozen. And the second book is called Sum It Up, which was her last book as she was fading away. They're both easy reads, take you 2 or 3 hours to read it. And I'll do a little touch on the definite dozen here. But I must tell you that this actually was her go-to. Sometimes we'd have 30, 40 minutes to speak. Sometimes they'd look at you and say, you got 13 and a half, which one day I said to her in front of 4,000 people. You got 13 and a half minutes. The board chair would not shut up, just talked all morning. I remember how she did her 13 and a half minutes. I thought I'd give you a taste of it, just so you could pretend you knew Pat in 2008 on May 8th, when I was with her and she did her song and dance. Folks, this is the stuff that carries you through life. And the education I got, the first joke I told you from Tommy, the second joke I'll tell you is from Richard Chait, were both part of my education. Both part of where I was sitting like you, had a chance to listen to them speak and them talk about. Pat, as you know, was just a farm girl from Savannah, Tennessee. I worked in Jackson, Tennessee for 5 years as a vice president of a university. She lived 15 miles south. I refereed at Tennessee Martin several games where she went to school. What are the odds I'd ever run into her 15, 20 years later and become friends? The definite dozen. She believed there were 12 simple rules, and that's what she preached, and that's what she talked to her girls about, and that's how she recruited. If she had 30 to 40 minutes, she would walk through the 12. She has a story for each one of them, of course, and she would move that story back and forth as to which one she needed out of the 12. I thought on behalf of the Katies of the world, I'd go ahead and read her 12 to you. Respect yourself and others, take full responsibility, develop and demonstrate loyalty, learn to be great, discipline yourself, be a great communicator, make hard work your passion, work hard and also work smart, put team before yourself, make winning your attitude, be a competitor, change is a must. Here's my favorite, and Monica's as well. Handle success like you handle failure. I'm going to give you the fast 5 is what she called it. That's 10 minutes. That's how much time she had to get it done. So here come your fast 5 with the stories. So we'll start with her first one. She would say, when you get up in the morning, there are 5 things you can control. 5 things that can change your life. You brush your teeth, you comb your hair, put these 5 in right after it. Put these 5 in. My first 2 weeks of school, I drill these into my 12 women. These 5. The first one is, don't let anyone start your engine. You get up in the morning, be ready to go. You're not motivated? Don't expect me to motivate you. Come in ready to work. I got to spend the first few minutes motivating you. You're not going anywhere because I got 9 others already past you. Do yourself a favor, look in the mirror when you finish your hair and say, I'm ready. I have a cue to do that myself from the age of 8 on my farm. My daddy had me up at 5:30 in the morning. I had peas to shuck. I had soybeans to pick. When my foot hit outside my dad's back door, I would look up and thank the Lord and say, I'm ready. I do that today, every day. The day I can't do that anymore, I'm stopping coaching and finding something else. My son, Tyler, pretty good athlete. I come home one day, he's in 10th grade, and he's crying at the kitchen table. I said to him, what are you crying about? He said, I just got cut from the junior varsity basketball team. To which I said to him, so what? He goes, they cut the greatest coach in America's son. They can't do that. And I told the coach, my mom will be in here tomorrow, and I'll be playing and starting on the varsity. To which she looked at her and, Tyler, I don't work that way. You're kidding me. I played since I've been 8 years old. You're the basketball coach at the University of Tennessee. This is Sevierville High. I told him you'd be, no. Here's the deal I'll make with you, Tyler. If you'll show up at the basketball goal in the driveway at 6 o'clock every morning, I'll be there to coach you for the first 45 minutes of every day. At the end of a year, if you're there every day, I bet you'll make the team. That's my deal. But I'm not going to start your engine, son. Rain or shine, Tyler was there. 1 year later, makes the varsity his junior year, averages 17 points a game, 23 points his senior year, and plays for the University of Tennessee the next 4 years. Tyler's a great guy. Loves to tell a couple of his mom's stories, but that's my favorite because it starts your engine. Second thing she says is arrive with a positive attitude. You have a choice on that. You have a choice. 90% of all the issues go away with a positive attitude. 90%. Why? That's all you got. Life's going to throw junk at you. You're going to get an accident on the way to school one day. Someone's going to be sick. They didn't pass you the ball. She said, in my case, especially as I got older, I got better. I was better than everybody else. I didn't need to pass the ball. I'm the best one on the floor anyway. I didn't win the state championship until I learned they're putting 3 women on me. My philosophy was I'll beat all 3. Yeah, but I got 2 or 3 open underneath the goal. Be much better to find a way to get them the ball. Yeah, they're going to score 10 or 12 points a game, but we'll be a lot better team if I can just positively see I've got teammates and I've got to take a different look at this rather than they stink, which is negative attitude. She said, attitude's everything. Attitude's everything. Thirdly, you got to take care of yourself, mentally and physically. No one else is going to do that. And don't expect anybody else to do that. Only you know when you don't feel well. Only you know what hurts. Mentally and physically, when you arrive, do whatever you have to do to be as close to 100% as you can. Expect that of yourself. Expect that. Don't expect others to put up with the fact that you're sick or you're hurt or your mind isn't there today. Number 4, look out for each other. There's actually other people involved in the world. You're not all alone. The more respect that you can give is the more respect that you receive. I come in every day, no matter who I see, I say hi every day. Those of you that have met Joan Cronin know that she actually lives by that every single day. And then lastly, be passionate about something. Find something in your life to be passionate about. Something that you know, I'm going to throw everything I have into this and leave it there. So many times in life, we have to go through process of whatever we're doing. We're not passionate about the doctorate. We're not passionate about our current job, but you darn well better find something. Mowing the lawn, taking care of your dog, something. She said, I've always been able to channel mine because winning is my passion. Winning. And she said, in the side of passion, it's actually your failures that teach you more than your successes. And it is your failures that make you great. And those are going to happen. And the person that can handle the national championship as well as they can handle losing, is the person that goes on to greatness. It took me 10 years to realize that. I thought, you win the Nationals, that's all there is. No, you can't get back there with that attitude. The secret is, can you do it every single year? Is it predictable? She said, I'm wound that way, so I'm a very competitive person. But she said, that's my passion. I have women that play for me that do not have the same passion. I'm constantly adjusting to what is theirs. What is your ultimate goal? Where are you going? What are your expectations? As she would wrap things up, she'd look at her watch, and whatever time she had left, she'd get into her book and she'd read a few places about, the places you can go. And her inspiration always ended with the fact that you are actually in control of most of your life if you'll take control of it before you step out of the house. Everything's waiting for you if you can make it a habit. You can't make it a habit. Now, what's interesting is, as I told you, I had Gary Cunningham. And Gary Cunningham played for the master. And what Wooden taught was demonstration, explanation, repetition, evaluation, repetition, evaluation, repetition, evaluation. That was his teaching method, which, as most of you know, if you're in the business of teaching, it's about how we teach everything. You show them. So I'm a golfer. I've taught golf here to some people that start from scratch. Grip, stance, first 3 feet, tempo, and I show them. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. 2 females share videos with them, women on the tour that look just like them. Let me show you. Then let's see what you got. Let's change this. Let's change that. Now let's do it over and over. I got to meet Lee Trevino one day in my prime. I had his son on my golf team. He was the number 1 player in the world in 1980, 81, 82. It's when I had his son, freshman, sophomore, junior years. We were in Bruton, Alabama, doing a benefit. I talked him into coming to my college to raise money. He had just won the British Open. He was exhausted, but I had his kid. I made him fly into Bruton. He actually flew to Pensacola, went and picked him up. Drove Bruton, Alabama, Lee Trevino, number 1 player in the world. I had practiced in my lifetime and hit an average of 1,000 balls a day, with a couple hours on chipping and putting in between. If I had any daylight left, I'd do 9 holes. 1,000 balls a day. No way anybody hits more than that. Trevino informed me that when he was in the Marine Corps, for 7 years, he hit 1,500 balls a day. 1,000 wasn't enough. He wasn't getting any better. I couldn't have hit another ball after 1,000. I was exhausted. There's always someone there that's got more passion than you for whatever you're doing. In 1998, my university hosted the National Soccer Championships for men and women in Miami, Florida. I had aligned Mia Hamm to come and be our speaker. Number 1 women's soccer player in the world at the time, gold medalist. I'm friends with her coach. He was nice enough to say, I can get Mia down there just for the girls. We had 300 women and their coaches, and it's the banquet the night before. It's at Monty's on the beach. She calls me the day before and says, I can't make it. I have an engagement at the Rose Bowl, It's where we're hosting the World Cup or whatever. I got to send somebody else in my place. So I'm going to send the girl that broke my goal record in the NCAAs, Donna Barrett. Never heard of her. Never. Well, she's actually on Mia's team. She's not famous like Mia. And Mia says she's 6'2", blonde, beautiful, played for University of Florida. They just won the national championship. She's the leading goal scorer in the country. She's the future. She said she'll go. I'll give her my plane ticket. We'll get her down there. She arrives. She's a kid, 21, 22 years old. Never stood up in front of a crowd and spoke in her whole life. And she's shaking next to me as we're sitting up on the dais in front of everybody. 5 minutes to go, I said, you going to make it through this? And she said, this is my first ever speaking engagement. I've never stood in front of it, let alone teams from all over the country with the Nationals tomorrow. I said, so how did you get great? And she said, my dad, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, at the age of 6, taught me how to play soccer. And then what he'd do is he wanted a goal scorer, so he taught me how to shoot with both feet. And he did that by lining balls around the goal box and making me score right foot and left foot from the age of 8 to 12. And we stayed there until I could hit all 30 balls into both sides of the goal. Once I accomplished that, he had me hit the posts. That sometimes took 2 or 3 hours before every ball hit a post. You could hit the top post or the side post. By the age of 17, he has me 2 steps outside the box doing the same drill with my back to the goal. Sometimes we were there all afternoon, and I just gave out. By the time I got to college, I think I knew how to score. You had to put 2 women on me front and back of every single game. I'm 6'2", I'm 175 pounds. You give me one step, left to right, it's in. And my dad gave me a philosophy, and it's the philosophy I've used my whole life. And that is, when I walk on the field, start the game, I repeat to myself, and then some. And then some. Because I'm going to match up against Mia Hamm. But what she needs to know is I've practiced harder and longer than you did. And then some. Whatever you did for practice, I did more. And at the end, while you're tired, you don't know if you have it, and you just, I stood out there till midnight trying to hit the dang crossbar with my back to the goal, taking a step on either side. My dad kept me there. I said, tell that exact story. And that's what she did. She went on a speaking circuit after they won the gold medal in 2000. She married the coach at LSU. That's passion, guys. That's passion. So there's a little Pat Summit for you. And I'll finish with my favorite Harvard piece of advice from a Dr. Richard Chait. This is a piece, he had 50 of us in front of him, and he said, I always end my class and my teachings by giving you a piece of wisdom that you can use in your job administratively. He's still alive and well, by the way, lives in Martha's Vineyard, 84 years old. It's the story about the Irish sheep herder. Heard it before, Stephanie? 25 years ago, I bet you did. I absolutely love it. So one day there was an Irish sheep herder moving his flock of sheep across the frozen tundra of Ireland, and he comes across a bird. And the bird is half frozen, rather large, but dying. Being a good Samaritan, he picked the bird up, shook the ice off its wings, and stuck it under his Sherpa jacket. He figured after a while it'll get warm, and I got to move my sheep. Well, that's exactly what happened. Moves his sheep for about 20 minutes. Next thing you know, it's scratching and pecking. He no longer can keep it in his jacket, but it's not 100% well yet. So he has to be creative. Let's see. Here's a bunch of my sheep dung, which is organic and warm. I'll pile a 3-foot pile of it up, and I'll stick the bird in it. And if he'll stay in it for a few minutes, that ought to be good enough to get him back to life. And so he does. Sticks the bird in the pile of sheep dung and pops his head down and moves along the mountain front. Well, after 10 or 15 minutes, the bird's ready to go. So it sticks its head out of the pile of dung and starts chirping. Beep, beep, beep. With that, a wolf comes out of the trees, sees and hears the bird, goes over to the pile of dung and eats him. The moral to the story: don't think everyone that comes to rescue you from trouble is your friend. And don't think everyone that sticks you in a pile of dung is your enemy. But while you're in the pile of dung, keep your head down and your mouth shut. Thank you, guys. Have a great 3 days. Huh?